Hi Tarot Tribe, it's Ethany, and I wanted to share with you my Mercury Retrograde preparation tarot spread that I created just yesterday actually. Wanted to show you the spread in action and just talk a little bit about Mercury in retrograde and how I feel about it. As many of you know, if you've been watching my channel for any period of time, I am a Gemini. I'm a third generation Gemini woman born within 3 days of each other. My mother and my grandmother were all born within 3 days. So very, very Gemini. And I find that some Mercury in retrogrades are okay, like they're fine. I wouldn't even have really pegged on that they had even happened, and that some of them are an absolute mess, and I feel like this one's going to be very difficult. I'm already struggling in the shadow, so I'm like, nah. Oh dear. So I put a little bit about the Mercury in retrograde and talked a little bit about it on my newsletter this week, and I created this spread. And I think that as a community, on the whole, generally speaking, because tarot, astrology, witchcraft, aesthetic vibes, paganism has all become a much more popular, I almost feel like there's a bit of a hype train around Mercury in retrograde. I'm touching wood as I say this. I really don't need everything in mind to fail communications wise, because that's my job. So yeah, I just find it really interesting, but I did want to do a preparation spread, which also takes into consideration kind of owning your power and not giving it away to something like a Mercury in retrograde. This is the Heart and Hands Tarot, just in case you're wondering. This is what I'm going to be using today. It was an Indigo deck that I backed, so it's an indie deck. So I'm just going to give the cards another quick shuffle. I mean, we're all going to have different views on things like Mercury in retrograde and, you know, the influences of the planets and things like that. I believe that astrology has a total place in my practice, in both in tarot and in the craft. So I'm not dismissing it. I just think sometimes it can be like, well, Mercury retrograde's here, I can be an asshole, and anything that goes wrong is Mercury in retrograde's fault a little bit, you know what I mean? All right, so in saying that, let's do the spread. So the first position is prepare yourself. So how can I best prepare for this Mercury in retrograde? This is quite a big deck. I could have picked a smaller one, but I really wanted to work with this today, so there you go. Oh, King of Swords, I love it. Now talk about being prepared. The King of Swords is like the king of preparing, the king of thinking that anything can go wrong. He is a projector of ideas. He thinks also macrocosmically, so he thinks of the bigger picture rather than like smaller picture. So how can we be prepared? Definitely look at, if you haven't backed up your shit on your computer recently, please go ahead and do that. Just like looking at what is happening during Mercury retrograde. I for one have got my deadline due to my publisher during Mercury retrograde. Heaven help me, because I'm in the middle of edits. So being prepared by being the King of Swords. This is also, you know, he's analytical. He's probably the most curmudgeon-y of, I love that word, of the kings. He's a little more cynical. He questions things a little bit more and is more aligned to thinking of things scientifically and more logically. So get logical. I know, you know, might be completely distant to what we do, but getting a little more logical around preparing for Mercury retrograde, not freaking out too much is probably really good. Like holding your ideals and holding the thoughts and things that you have in your mind, because as we know, thoughts are things, words are magic, so holding that as well. So I love that we have the King of Swords, because it's a very all-encompassing of something that is tied to an air sign like the King of Swords is through Mercury. Okay, second position, the theme for Mercury in retrograde. So what is going to be the key theme or the lesson learning? And of course, we have the devil. Oh my goodness gracious, we are going to be tempted. So maybe tempted to the immediate thing I get is tempted to quit. So don't quit. If you're working on a creative project, or you're trying really hard to like get through something, but it's like we hit right bam in the middle of like, it's, you know, spring's coming up, it's like the new moon, Ostara, and the Mercury retrograde is all happening within 3 fucking days of each other. And it's a Mercury retrograde in Aries, God of War. Aries and the Devil card have quite a lot in common for me. So, you know, try not to quit. Be nice to each other. I mean, I guess that's always a nice thing to say, no matter what, to be kind and compassionate, but don't quit. Like, you are going to be maybe a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit tempted to just say, oh, fuck it. But if you can kind of hold out on that energy and just pause, don't quit. Rest, don't quit. I got that very, very strongly, but there's going to be a lot of temptation. I tell you what, I think I need someone to take away my credit card for this Mercury retrograde, so I don't just like cry shop on Amazon when I've had like a bad day. Everything is going wrong. I need a new deck to make me feel better. Yeah, I might be giving that to my sister. So number 3, position 3 is wrap it up. So what needs to be resolved or finished before Mercury retrograde starts? The Queen of Wands. So if you do have any creative projects that can be wrapped up before it starts, please go ahead and try and get that done. For me, I create every day, so it's a little bit difficult. I also feel like the Queen of Wands, I mean, she's very much she's a very magnetic personality. So this can be like, don't wait, okay, step back from that. She's a very magnetic personality who's very used to things coming to her and being done for her. So with this being in the wrap it up section of the tarot spread, I'm getting, it's like, you're gonna need to like dig in and do the work. No one's gonna do it for you. It's not gonna magically disappear. You know, no brownies or little fairies are gonna come in and finish the work for you. So don't pretend like it's not there. It's not going to go away. Okay, 4th position is get off the hype train. So what I've put in this is like, this position is like, where are you being asked to hold your power and not give it away during this Mercury retrograde? Yes, shit happens sometimes, and yes, sometimes astrological cosmic events, you know, the stars do align or do not align and things happen, but where can you kind of diffuse a little bit of this like hype? And of course we have Temperance, all things in balance, all things to be considered to be a part of alchemy. And you know, like any form of magic requires like be a culmination of ingredients. Now that can be something that you can do astrally, of course, but usually with spell work, you want to weave in a number of correspondences, you want to weave in a number of elements and tools to enhance and strengthen your magic. You want to build that energy up. And so what Temperance is saying is like, there is always one more element, there are lots of elements at play here. So not fixating on one thing. If something is becoming unraveled or is getting away from you, then move on to the next one and don't necessarily get really hung up on the first thing. And understand where for you, what elements you're adding to it being harder than it needs to be. So once we start to like fall into the pattern of, I'm going to like make this harder than it needs to be, then it can be a little bit difficult to kind of get back on track again. So get off the hype train by realizing that there is a little bit of, we need a little bit of like fine tuning and juggling and looking at what we're doing in order to work with the energies of Mercury in retrograde and what maybe we're accepting from other people. And then the 5th position, we have the throat chakra. Clear communication. So how can I work with my throat chakra? How can I be more clear in my communication? And what can I do? We have the 7 of Wands. And like I said, this Mercury retrograde is in Aries. This is a fire sign. This is a fire, well, I see Wands as fire card. And this is a card of defense for me. So here we're being asked to look at not being defensive. I may need to stick like a little label on my computer that says, do not act so defensive. Not that that's kind of like my that's not really the thing that my go-to. It's really not, but it's more that I can tend to be a bit over sassy. A lot of the time people don't see it because like I'll like say it to my sister or I'll write it and delete it. Or never send the email. But looking at our defenses, so Aries being a very war-hungry energy in regards to planet, right? If we're looking at Aries through the lens of like the god of Aries and Mars, we're looking at a very feisty, looks for a fight, really gets its power from aggravating others and engaging in warfare, whether that's like just like psychological warfare with someone or just pitching a fit at work or whatever it may be. And then with the Seven of Wands, it's like saying, try not to be so defensive. If you're struggling, probably the person you're communicating with is probably struggling too. So taking down a little bit of that, the defenses, and getting a little bit of perspective. One of my favorite practices for that is to like walk away from the email or the situation or the communication and calm down and get a bit of like perspective before I kind of answer and go forward. I would love to see what cards you get. Another quick thing that I wanted to mention before I hop off the recording is you can actually, when you're doing a tarot spread, any tarot spread, you can do as I did, shuffle the cards, cut the deck however you choose to cut the deck, and then pull straight from the top and deal out all your cards at once. Another thing you can do is you can shuffle your cards every time and hold the question or the position in the spread before, like every time. So you would shuffle and then you would cut and you would pick out the first card, and then while you're asking yourself the second one, you will shuffle again, cut the deck, and do that. I've just been asked that a couple of times in the last couple of days, so I wanted to show you that you basically say from my perspective, shuffle how you want, deal how you want, and play around with both of those techniques and see which one really works for you. So this is my Mercury in retrograde, preparing for Mercury retrograde tarot spread. I'll put the link to the spread layout and the pretty picture over on ethne.com in the description. And thank you for watching, and may the odds be ever in your favor, Tarot Tribe, for this Mercury retrograde. I don't know about you, but I'm probably going to give myself an offering, or I'm going to give myself the opportunity, even my language isn't working, the words aren't working, give a offering to the god Mercury, to the god Hermes. It's going to be a rough one. Check back with me after, see if I'm still alive. Yep, there we go. I'll probably be alive, I'm just meaning more like exhausted. And I need to stop talking now. Alrighty. Thanks for watching. And I hope you enjoy using the spread.